Welcome back to the Deeper 2025 podcast. I'm glad you've joined us today. Our goal is to help you to go deeper in your reading plan that we've put out here at New Shores. We're reading 2 chapters in the Old Testament, a chapter in the New Testament, a chapter in the Psalm or Proverbs, and we are so excited that you're here. And I want to dive in just briefly to Acts chapter 8 today. It's our reading for today out of the New Testament. If these are helpful for you, would you like this video? Would you comment? Would you share it on social media, whatever social media you're a part of? It would definitely help us to expand our reach, but also to let us know that we actually are being useful in the kingdom to do these videos. And so Acts chapter 8 is interesting because there's a story of Philip. And Philip is called to go down to a desert road, and he finds an Ethiopian eunuch. There's a couple of things we learn from Philip's story, and I just want to point those out briefly today in our podcast. The first thing is Philip is in the middle of a fruitful ministry opportunity that he's got in Samaria, and he's there, he's serving God, he's doing great things, but an angel comes to him and tells him to go south to a desert road. Now, a desert road doesn't seem like the place that you want to go if you are in the middle of a fruitful ministry in Samaria, but that's exactly where God calls him to go, and so he just simply obeys. And sometimes it doesn't make sense to us where God is calling us or what he's calling us out of and into, but when God calls, the first thing we see is that obedience is the key to being used by God. Now, we don't know what would have happened in Philip's life if he would have rejected the call of God to go to the desert road. We know what possibly would have happened with the Ethiopian eunuch, but for Philip, maybe his fruitful ministry in Samaria would not have lasted. Maybe it would have taken a different turn. But whatever the case, Philip goes and he obeys God and goes down to the desert road. And the question I would have for us is do we obey God even when it doesn't make sense? Because God is going to call you sometimes to a place where it doesn't make sense to follow him to, but he has a plan and a purpose. And we see in Philip's life the plan to go down this desert road, to go into the middle of the wilderness, was to meet an Ethiopian eunuch. But then Philip, upon seeing the eunuch, he sees this opportunity, and he seizes the opportunity. And you and I, we have to do the same thing. We have to be sensitive to the opportunities God gives us. And so he sees the Ethiopian eunuch reading out of the book of Isaiah. And Philip goes up to him and he asks, "Do you understand what you're reading?" And the Ethiopian eunuch said, "No, I really don't." And so Philip was then able to have a gospel conversation because he was obedient, first of all, to go down the desert road, but he also seized the opportunities and he was sensitive to the opportunities that God had given him while he was in that desert place. And so they have this opportunity, and I would just tell you that you're probably not going to go down a desert road today. You're probably not going to see an Ethiopian eunuch today, but there are people all around you who are searching for the truth. They're searching for meaning in this life. They're searching for purpose in this life. And so what you're called to do is just be sensitive to those opportunities and then start a conversation. Philip starts a conversation with the Ethiopian eunuch. He ends up sharing the gospel. By the way, it's not good enough just to answer people's Bible questions. We have to share the gospel with them, the good news of Jesus. It's not enough just to say, "Oh, well, let me tell you what Isaiah says," and then leave it there. And Philip shares the gospel with this. He explained how Jesus fulfills Isaiah's prophecy. And we see that day the Ethiopian eunuch responded in faith, and Philip baptizes the Ethiopian eunuch right then and there. And so today, as we go throughout our day, I want you to think about Philip's experience. He is called out of a fruitful ministry. He is called out of a place that he is doing really well in God's will and in God's ministry. And he's called down to the desert road, and it doesn't make sense to him, but he does it because he just simply responds in obedience. And today, maybe you're called to respond in obedience, and then you're called just to be sensitive to the opportunities that God gives you with the people around you, the people in your sphere of influence, the people you work with, the people in your neighborhood, your neighbors, the people maybe at your school. And then you've just got to be willing to share the gospel. Don't back down from sharing the gospel with those who God has given you the opportunity to share the gospel with. And you will see in time fruit like Philip saw with the Ethiopian eunuch. Sometimes we get worried about sharing the gospel because, man, what happens if they say no? What happens if they reject us? And I think that keeps many people from sharing the good news of Jesus with other people. Let me just remind you, you're not called to save people. In fact, you can't save people. You can only share with people what God has done in your life. And if he's been good to you and he's been faithful to you, you share with others what he has done for you and what he wants to do for them. And then the decision is up to them. It's not on you for their salvation. And so just be obedient. Take that step of obedience today. Whatever God's calling you to, you will be blessed by it.